Hey everyone, this is Santosh Jayamohan, also Tech at Fang. I'm here with my longtime friend Vishnu Kumar Kansami. We both are analysts who transitioned from a non-tech to tech background. And you all know me that I give information in a 50-30 second reel, but we thought a podcast would be more helpful for you guys. So we're just here to record our journey and how did we transition from a hardcore mechanical engineers to now working in an analytics field for almost 5 years, if I'm not wrong. So over to you, Kandasamy.
Okay, thank you, Santosh. Well, it's not gonna be more like explaining our transition, but I personally, I know Santosh for almost a decade. We started our journey together in mechanical field, but overall, his transition into tech field is really amazing. So I just want to ask him those questions. Even though we are friends, we know each other personally for a while. These are some kind of questions that we never asked ourselves. So, Santosh, first of all, why Tech at Fund?
Yeah, before White Tech at Fact, when he said for a while, it's actually a decade. I knew him since 2012 and it's almost 2023. So we're like 10-year close friends, and when we just first met in the college, we became close friends. So that's a different topic. So yeah, it's been a decade, man. Cool. So why Tech at Fact? The major reason for Tech at Fang was because in LinkedIn, right, whenever I post some updates on that I became a business analyst, and people usually go through my profile and find out that I'm from mechanical background, and I used to get a lot of messages saying that, hey, you're from mechanical background, how did you transition into a data science? These kind of questions on the one side, the other being, people from they're random strangers, man, even from Instagram before Tech at Fang, with my own profile itself. Like people used to ping me, and my friends of friends used to connect with me asking me about how can I transition and everything. So I thought, okay, there are people who are genuinely interested in moving into data analytics or data science, but there is so much misinformation on the internet because I remember when I started Tech at Fang, I made sure to follow some 40, 50 people who are doing analytics and guiding people into analytics. And out of that 50, right, I think almost like 50, 60% were fine. They were just talking about how to move into analytics, but the 40 remaining percent, oh my God, they just post a lot of links, they just post a lot of videos, and they're like making people go here and there without any, clear path of direction. And those are the people who have more views and follows, unfortunately. It's because of how the algorithm works, if I'm not wrong. So I decided, okay, let's get into the middle ground. Let's try to create a content for 30, 15 seconds, but also give enough material for people to seamlessly try to understand how tech works, how business analytics work, especially for people who like us coming from a mechanical background. We know how effing hard it is to work in a tech field. Even now, 5 years into analytics, I still have that imposter syndrome. I'm pretty sure you will also have.
Yeah.
So
well, I just have to talk here because I want to, since you mentioned that you came across a lot of people who provided you with misinformation. How did those misinformation help you, or maybe how did those misinformation take you to a journey that you could have achieved something in 3 months, but because of those misinformation, it just took you like 10 months or 12 months. What happened? How did those misinformation impacted you?
So, if I'm a fresher now, right, 2022, let's say I graduated in 2022, I'm in 2023, and I don't have any mentors, unfortunately, and I'm coming from a second mid-tier college, okay, not a first-tier college. I'm going from a second-tier. Then obviously I go to Instagram to try to find out what are the ways I can move into analytics field. And obviously analytics data and all these are the keywords that is most searched and still trending right now. What happens is when people go to a profile, like let's say if I'm a fresher, I'm looking someone and he's having all this great dresses and polished shoes and stuff, and he's opening his MacBook and giving people, telling them how to do Excel. For God's sake, you can't use MacBook for Excel, man. That a lot of people don't understand. You don't even have a VLOOKUP. You can't do a power pivot in an Excel, especially in MacBook. But this guy is sitting there opening his MacBook and he's like putting stuffs like, guys, this is the fastest way to learn Excel. And it's like a 10, 12-second reel with some 10 links. And people like and follow and save and asking him, hey, can you send me this link and stuff? And unfortunately, those 10 links when I visit, almost 6 to 7 are not working, unfortunately. And rather, the other 3 are like advanced as fuck. I don't even use them in my day-to-day analytics world. Right, that's how much misinformation from one video that took me like if I didn't have a mentor, if I didn't know what I'm doing, if I go through these 3 courses, that enough will take me 6-7 months out my time. And people just, unfortunately, they follow things like there's a lot of misinformation. Just because it has more likes, it doesn't mean it's true. That's a very bad social misconception that's still going on. So that's when I thought, okay, this Excel I can learn in 3 to 4 weeks. Unfortunately, because of one video, I'm going to take 6 months to learn it.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I pretty much had the same problem or similar problem, even though my transition into tech was kind of accidental. So I didn't really go through this personal training, personal development pathway. It just happened by accident. But in your case, I clearly know back in 2013 or 2014, those period, we never talked about getting into tech. We never talked about being an analyst. That was not even in the corner of our head. That is this tiny idea or tiny dream about getting into tech or being an analyst. When exactly did you feel like, hey, yeah, finally I'm an analyst? Like, what was that one wow moment or one eureka moment? Like going from a guy who's just playing with the gears and the mechanical tools, engineering, drawing, and then just transforming into someone who is solving a real world problem using numbers. What was that one specific moment, if you can point me out?
So this even came before I got into data analytics. Obviously, when we are doing college, let's say when we are doing our final years or whatever on that sort, we never had an idea that we'll be getting into tech. God forgot tech. I never even thought that I'll work in this fancy IT tech parks. I never went into them before that, right? And only time I ever visited was Bangalore's Embassy Tech Park, because you have to cross a road and go into that. Then only you can exit to the other road. And I used to see this fancy building and people working in Microsoft, Ola and all this stuff. I'll be like, whoa. And this is way before tech and all this time when I got into it. On the work, if you ask me, obviously when I joined, I did not know SQL, I did not know Tableau, whatever those jargons are. But once I was put into the company and I was asked to code and write stuff, I still vaguely remember one of the projects we will have to do. What happened was there was some issue in some query. And unfortunately, my seniors and all the people who were there was working on it, but they were not able to focus on it. It's not like they couldn't. It's just they had a lot of other priorities to do. So they asked me to do it. And I looked into the query and I was able to find out where the mistake was, and I was able to tell them, and I was able to rectify it myself. And I got an appreciation. Obviously, you will realize that you fit into the book only when you get some appreciations, right? And I was able to fit into the book because I was able to solve a query, which I never in my dream would have thought that I would solve a query that my seniors or others could not focus on. So that was a eureka moment for me.
Well, just to clarify, is it before Amazon or after Amazon? Because I know you're
Everything here is before Amazon.
Before Amazon. Okay, yeah, good to know. So, what would you tell to the people? Because I personally have a lot of friends. I mean, friends in the context of cousins, who are just graduating their bachelors. Most of them into engineering, probably from computer or any other departments, but they are trying to get into tech. What would you say when they start into at the moment, the opportunities that they get, of course, they are not going to get into FAANG companies, any Fortune 500 companies in the first go. They are going to get into some startups, which is good. What would you say the things that they should learn at first when they get into a startup? I'm not talking about the tools that they should learn, but in terms of the culture, in terms of the way you think, because unless what I believe is unless it's just more of way of thinking than just operating fancy tools. So what would you tell them? Like, if you see yourself, let's say time travel 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you just met yourself, you want to give 3 advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Right. This is a very interesting question. 3 advice to my younger self. Interesting. Not involving tech. Cool. I think you will also align with this. So one thing is you should always ask the right set of questions, right? As an analyst, it's very important when you go for an interview or even in a day-to-day progress, right? You should be able to ask the right set of questions. That is one. And the second thing is be consistent. Like whatever you're doing, be very consistent. Whether it comes to coding any language, whether it is coming to reading a newspaper, or whatever it is that you want to focus on, be consistent on that. And the third one, which I'll mostly be happy to tell them is, streamline your path. Okay, so in analytics, there are different paths. There is data scientists, data engineers, business analysts, data engineers. Now there are even coming as business scientists, and all these things will come up in new way. And don't get clouded because of all this information in the internet. What I would say is create a streamlined focus path and just focus on those. That is what I feel is missing in most of the people now. They just go here and there getting information and get there. There's actually a good name. It's actually called a syndrome, which I'm forgetting. It's in one of my comments on my Tech Fan. That is what most of the youngsters are now getting themselves into. So just 5 years ago, if I go meet myself, I'll tell them, be consistent, focus on just few set of things. Don't go here and there looking around people, and ask the right set of questions. That's the 3 things I would say he should be focusing on.
Definitely. Yeah, that's helpful. Actually, I wanted to touch base on this one of your point about being consistent. One of the important thing as an analyst is not just about being consistent, it's also about being reliable at job. How would you handle that? Because, end of the day, as an analyst, we are not the one who is making decision. We are the ones who are supporting people to make decisions. So the numbers that we provide, it's not about just providing the right numbers or the right calculation. It's also about providing the unbiased data to the right people. How would you think that you should view a data? Or I'm not asking you in terms of very technical details, but just as a younger self who's just getting into the tech, I don't want people to just jump into the conclusions. I want people to understand the data from the scratch. What would you tell them? Tell those people who's really into taking it slow, taking it deep, getting in the data, understanding the data perfectly, and then making an insights out of it. What would you tell them in terms of reliability to the management and also being consistent in providing or delivering those tasks?
See, it's more about, as you said, we don't make business decision. We support people who make the business decision, but it is responsibility that comes to us to make sure that the data that we give or the support that we give is 100% true, right? Because you can't make mistake in data. That is the utmost truth. There is no things like, okay, you make an error. Let's say you are doing some shipments to some company on some mechanical products, and there is a range where you can put in quality. Like, for example, it can be 99.9%. You have the error of 0.1%. But here that 0.1% error is not recommended because that will lead to a business loss. That can eventually lead to a business loss. So what I would definitely say to the people who are new into analytics, see, quantity does not matter. It does not matter how many data that you give. It does not matter how many reports you send out. At the end of the day, in order to build trust on you, the quality is what is very important. So when we hire freshers, or what I look into freshers is, see, but guys, you can be a very skilled person in SQL, you can be a very skilled person in Excel, you can be even more skilled than me. I don't give an F about it. I'm happy that you're more skilled than me. But if you can't give me that right set of data with 100% confidence, I'm never going to use it. Because my data is used to make business decision at a large scale. Like 2CR, 3CR business decision are made from my data. And when I give the data, if I even show like a little discomfort when I'm giving it to my manager or when I'm giving it to a person, if I show a little discomfort saying that, hey, I ran this query, I know how SQL works, but I'm not sure this number is right. This but completely demolishes the trust they have in you. So in short, what I'm trying to say is focus on the quality part, forget about the quantity. If you're giving one data set per week, that's okay. But make sure that you give it with 100% confidence. And for that, you need to deep dive on data. You need to understand data. You need to understand historical trends. You need to understand what happened on last year, same time, what happened, why is the data showing up or down. So much EDA you need to focus on giving one single data set. And that is expected from you till 4-5 years you're in the job. That kind of confidence is expected from you till that time. So focus on quality.
Definitely, yeah. Quality over the quantity. Actually, I wanted to ask one more question, but I think that would lead us to a completely different topic. Maybe we can take it to another podcast. But basically, I wanted to ask you about your first mistake, that one big mistake that you might have done in the early stages of your career that might have resulted in some poor or bad business decisions, financial losses, something like that. But I think we will catch up on that maybe in in a couple of days. Maybe we can make another video about your first mistake. Everyone has their first mistake, but I just want to learn that. But anyway, for now, yeah, thank you. I think this is our first video. So you'll listen to us, guys. Just please share your comments and feedback in the comment section. We are happy to share more about our journey. We are not really amazing in making videos, so we believe that the content in our
People would have realized it by now. You don't have to make this statement.
But we'll try to keep improve it over the time. Probably our next video will see a significant improvement, and it will deliver you some really good content and the knowledge. So just stay tuned with us, and yeah, thank you for watching.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.